Gopal, Vaishali, guys, you can see my screen. Jay? All right, perfect. So today we'll be looking at the tool called Data Insight. Yesterday we were completing this data store configurations and reconciliations. So today we will look at the tool called Data Insight and Management Console. So first let us look at the tool called Data Insight. So Data Insight is used to do a DHA on the data. DHA stands for Data Health Assessment or Data Health Analysis. So before we start working on the project, we need to understand if the data that we are getting from the client is good enough so that we can do a migration or not. So in this process, we use this tool, Data Insight, to perform the DHA on the data. So for example, the client is giving you the data in the form of a flat file. So at the time of demo, we discussed different type of data quality problems, the content problem, the data problem, the, the consolidation problem, or the migration problem. There are so many problems with the bad data. So if you have bad data, how can you identify even before you start working on the project? So before you build your ETL job, you should be in a position to understand what type of data and how that data is going to support you. Okay, so if you have bad data, even though you are just wasting your time building your ATL jobs. So what can be done in order to avoid that thing, or what can be done in order to foresee the data, if the data is good or bad, and then we can utilize the data in the job if the data is good, or if the data is bad. Even before starting the jobs, we can tell the data owners that, hey, the data what you have provided is not accurate, so that we cannot start working on that. So for that, we need to do a profiling on the data. So we need to understand the nature of the data by doing some analysis. We have to do the profiling, or we have to do a data health assessment to understand if the data is good or bad. Okay, so that is the reason why we have the tool Data Insight. Data Insight is not a part of your BODS software. It is an extra tool that comes along with the software. So if you look at this one, so here you see Business Objects Data Services, and you cannot find Data Insight within this. So the new name of Data Insight in DS 4.0 is Information Steward, IS. So here in 3.2 we call it as Data Insight. We can perform all these activities within Designer itself. So we can do that, but still there is a separate tool, and I want you guys to know about it. So we are talking about this one now. So here, if you go to the Business Objects XI 3.0, you have Data Insight. Okay, so this is not available in XI 3.2 list. It is available as a separate application or a separate patch. So if you go to Business Objects XI 3.0, you have the Data Insight here. And Data Insight, first it starts with an engine, and then you can start the GUI. So first we have to start the engine. So click on Engine. And once the engine is started, you can click on the GUI to start the GUI. Okay, so the engine is up. Go to the same navigation, Start Program Files, Business Objects XI 3.0, Data Insight, and Graphical User Interface. So there are different types of analysis that we can do using this Data Insight. We can do different sorts of analysis on the data. So this is the welcome screen of Data Insight. So just give me a second. So this is the welcome screen, and it says that to begin analyze your data, create a new project or open an existing one. To open a new project, go to Files and choose New. So this is how to create a new project, or to open an existing project, you can go to Manage Project. So once you go to Manage Project, you can see all the projects that are available here. Okay, these are the different projects that I have created earlier as part of training. So to create a new project, as told, file, go to new. Okay, once you are doing so, this you have to give the project name here, project underscore. Okay, I'm calling this as project morning 6 because this is a batch at 6 o'clock, 6 a.m. in my, sorry, 7 a.m. in India. And this can be a shared project so that when some others log into the data inside and when they go to click on manage project, they can see this project in that list. So if it is a shared project, it is accessible by others. If it is not a shared project, it is only your project. Nobody can ever see this project or nobody can access this project. So make this as a shared project by default and click on OK. And here, when you are utilizing this tool for the first time, okay, so when you log into this one and give the project name, so once you get this screen, so now what I'll be doing is completely different from what you will be doing when you log into the full tool for the first time. So for the first time, you have to give the database server name here and then click on OK, and it will take you to the data link properties. So for the first time, it will take you to the data link properties where you have to give the server name, username, password, and click on OK. Okay, you have to give all these screens, but now it will not ask you to go through those screens once again because the establishment is already created. So I select the server, click on OK. I just give the username and password. So it will not take me to the data link page. So once you give the username and password, it will give you all the lists of databases that are present on your system or onto the jobs or onto the server to which you are connecting. The server name, whichever the server name that you have given here, it gives you all the list of databases that are present here. So now let us select AdventureWorks, the first database, and click on OK. Further, you can filter the data or filter the set of tables that you are getting into the data inside by defining a table name, because sometimes some databases has an extension as .owner for the table name, some has .dba, SQL has .dba as the table name, or we can create our own table name as well. So if you want to filter as per the table name, you can create that, or the naming conventions. So this is one of the most important thing that I was preaching about from the day one. The naming conventions are quite important because if you look at this one, when you want to do an analysis on some tables, you should see that show objects that begin with. So if you have a proper naming convention, only at the last, the suffix, right, the last part of the table will be changing based on the stage wherever the job is. So first it is in the mapping stage, the last table name is underscore MAP. If it is valid, invalid, so it keeps changing, but the naming convention should be standard. So I will show you one more document. I'll take you through one more document which tells about the naming conventions, how you have to go through the naming conventions, and how you have to create the naming conventions of the tables. Rishabh, I did not get you. What do you mean by wild characters? Oh, here, okay. List one full or partial table, view or view name do not include the wild characters. So wild characters are something like, the special characters that you provide or the keys that you try to pull down. So that is complete a data warehousing terminology. So there is no need for you to give these things. You just need to give the table name starting with so and so. Because if you take a project, so for example, let us take the client name is XYZ and you're working on the material master module. So the table naming convention will be XYZ underscore MM underscore map, XYZ underscore MM underscore valid, XYZ underscore MM underscore invalid. So if you just give XYZ underscore MM, so it will get all the related tables of that particular job. So there is no need for you to give any jobs, any other table names. So just click on OK. And here it displays all the list of tables that are present within your database. So if you, within this AdventureWorks, I'm selecting the sales category, and in this sales category I'm selecting the customer. So we will see the database, we will see some reports on this, analysis reports on this customer table. So before we have to see here, there are 4 tabs in this screen. So first one is the data profile tab, so which will help us to do an analysis on the entire data of the table. Second one is a column query, which itself says that it will help us to do a complete analysis on a column level. Then referential integrity, it gives you some more tests that we can perform on the data. Then if you want to write a custom query using the Python script, you can write your own custom queries here. So these are the 4 areas that we'll be looking at now. So let us concentrate on first one now. So if you look at the data profile. So initially when I logged into this screen, it gave me some analysis about the table, saying that customer ID is the primary key, territory ID is my foreign key. There are 19,185 rows in this table, and these are the data types of each and every column. So it gave me some analysis. To know more the further analysis, first one is summary. So summary of your data that enables decision making for further drill down process. So it gives you a summary on the table. So how many primary keys are there, how many duplicates are there, how many null values are there. So it gives you a big report on the data. We'll see how to create that. So you can click on the table level, or you can just click on whatever the fields that you want to pull out for the report. So here I'm taking for the table level, and see, written data is grayed out. So it means that it is not going to pull show data as an output in the report. If sometimes if you just click on here, the written data will be activated. So you can choose written data, so you can see the data as well when you do a comparisons and all this stuff. So as of now, first let us go one by one. It is summary. So it gives you a snapshot of your entire data. Okay. So next one is sample input. So you can do a sampling on the data as well. So you can take either 50% or first 1000 rows, because we have 19,000 records. So you can select between the percentage and rows here. So you can click on this drop down, select percentage or rows, and you can select the data as well, the sample data that should be read. So let us do it on this whole data now. So once you give these checkboxes, once you check this summary part here, so you just go here to the right corner and click on run. So once you click on run, the report gets initiated, and if you look at this report, this is a complete snapshot of your data. So it says that the account number, not unique columns, are 0, and customer ID, not unique columns, are 0. Means they are completely unique columns, and the percentage of that data, incomplete columns, number of incomplete columns, percentage of incomplete columns, all nulls, cardinalities, maximum value, minimum values, minimum length and maximum length, average length of the particular field on the table, then average values, space repopulated, no cardinality, all these things are given in this report. So if you look at this one, modified date, there are only one value. So you see, this is only one value that is present. So October 13th is the only one date. Customer type, we have 2 records here, 2 types of customers. So customer type I and customer type yes are present here. And the next one is territory ID. There are 10 values. The least value is 1 and the maximum value is 10. So here you understand that there are 10 different territory IDs in this data. So looking at this, it gives you an understanding or an analysis of this data, saying that okay, this data is good enough to start working on the project. So for example, if all nulls, some columns are having yes, and spacely populated, some columns are having yes, then definitely your table is not good enough to do a ETL on top of that. So this is how you need to understand the data insight tool. So check this box, save report, and just click on print report to see this report. Alright, so it is generated into a beautiful report saying that data profiler, saved on today's date, at today's time, created by the user ID, runtime, and all these things. This is the summary profile, and this is the heading. Then alerts and no alerts. So database name is AdventureWorks. Table is customer table, 19,985 records, and this complete strategy per column is provided into this sheet. So now, how can we send this back to the data owner? So for example, we understood that this data is not good enough. So how do we send this report? So somewhere we have to take a printout of this report, or somewhere we have to download this one and attach this as an email attachment and send it to the data owner. So this is where we can do that. So you have an export report option here, or a print report option. You click on the export report option, and you can export a report to all these different formats here, Word document or PDF or rich text format. So I select PDF here, and destination, you can either save it in an application, disk file, or a MAPI. So we go for disk file, click on OK, all pages. Now select where you want it to be saved. Okay, report summary profile, and click on save. Now your report summary profile is saved on your desktop, and you can open that and you can send it to the data owner saying that this is the analysis that I have done on your table, and this data I don't see it is good or bad. So you can suggest if you can go ahead with this data migration or not. So then he will look at this data. Data owners can easily understand if the table is good or bad looking at this sort of analysis, and he will give a conclusion saying that the data is good or bad. So these kind of beautiful reports are created by this data insight to do an analysis on the data. Alright, so that is report number 1. Now let us go and see the report number 2. So let me close this. Okay, so once you click on print report, you save the report, click on close, but remember, check this box, save report. So close, yeah, data profile 1 underscore summary, because we are trying to do a summary report here. Right, the report is saved, and uncheck this one at the table level. Second one is comparison. So count and percentage of rows with incomplete column values. So this one gives you the count and percentage of rows with incomplete column values. Yeah, Jay, I'm just going through your questions. Just give me a second. How does it work with character field, like gender? The same way it was working with the customer type. So customer types, you have 2 customer types, I and yes. So it will just try to do an analysis on the data. So if you just give based on the values that are present on your table, it will try to, you know, I just want identity if any individual except M or identity if any individuals except male or female. See, this tool works on your data, so that whatever the data that is present on your table, this tool works on top of that and does an analysis. So if somebody has entered a blank space in terms of identity, rather than entering a male or female, if somebody enters a blank space there, so there will be 3 types of sex present in that table. One will be male, second one will be female, and third one will be blank. So it gives a complete analysis, and then you can tell the data owner saying that, hey, this blank space is there. So what is this? I don't want to work on this data. So can you correct this data and give it back to me? So he has to correct the data and give it back to us. So these kind of, this is just an analysis tool, Jay. Okay, so we are not going to going to do a conversion on the data. This is just an analysis that we are trying to do on the data. Is that clear? But can you show an example out of that? So yeah, this is a clear example. See, now, for example, I should have only one customer type. Okay, I should have only one customer type, which is I, and by mistake there are some values which are populated as S. As per the business logic, the data owner says that I have filtered the data on the customer type as I, and you should not get any other customer types. So now you can open the table, do some analysis on this and say that boss, your customer type yes is also present in the data, and I'm not going to accept this. Please correct the data and send it back to me. So looking at this report, he can understand that, okay, some bad data is present in the table, and he will go again do a filter, because sometimes this yes, which we can see here, is a space yes. So what it will do is, it is space yes is not always not equal to yes. So what he will do is, he will try to filter the data once again, and he will delete all those records, and he will send us only the customer type I. Okay, is that clear, Jay? All right, good. So next one is a comparison report. So this comparison, it compares the, one second, count F and percentage of rows with incomplete column values. So if you have any columns with incomplete values in that, so it gives you the count and percentage of those things. Okay, but in our table we have properly filled data, because this is some other projects, because these are the projects which are promoted by SQL in the beginning. These are the first projects, so we have complete data here. And if you want to see those columns which do not have a proper data, you can check this box, the written data option as well. Okay, so click on run. Okay, now you see the number of rows read are 19,185, and 0% match and 0% match for incompleteness. So every column in this table is complete. So this is what we have to check when we are doing some analysis. So you should get a 0% match here. So it is acceptable until you get a 20% match, but if you are getting like 50% incomplete values or 60% incomplete values, then there is no point in working on that particular this thing. So click on print report to see the report. Right, so you see your report here, and click on close, and you want to save this. Yes, save as a new task, then save it as comparison. Okay, so this comparison reports, it gives you the count and percentage of incomplete column values. So if there are any column values with incomplete things, then it will be provided. Next one is the frequency check. So frequency distribution of distinct values in the columns. So now for this, if you have just seen the example that we have done earlier in summary, we have the customer type I and S. So the frequency of distribution is more for I and S in the data. So now you can select written data option and click on run. Okay, so you have selected a distribution analysis on a primary key. So we can uncheck this one. We don't want to do a distribution analysis on a primary key, because primary key is always understood that it has unique values and it does not have any duplicates, and which we can also cross check in the summary. So there is no need to do a frequency check on that one, because it might take a lot of time. So once this report is executed, alright, so for 19,185 records, it's 100% match. For frequency, means every record is unique. So here at the bottom you see the data. So you have 19,185 records available here. What is the setup report option? Yeah, Gopal, I'll show it to you just in a moment. So next one is the customer type. If you click on this, it says customer type yes, 701 entries are present, and customer type I, 18,484 entries are present. The percentage of presence of yes is 3.65, and the percentage of presence of customer type I is 96.35. And next one is the frequency date. A modified date, it is only one, which is October 13th, 2004. And territory ID, as I told you, we have 10 territory IDs, so that is the reason it shows 10 here. And if you look at this one, we have 1 to 10 values present here. Okay, so this is how you see the data. So now you can click on setup report, okay, and you can change. Now till now you are seeing the report as a graphical table, so you can change that chart here and give the name for this one, and you can either display the values or the percentages in this one, and click on save. Now print report. Instead of seeing the report in the form of a table, you'll see it in the form of a graph. So that is the reason why we have setup report, sorry, yeah, setup report option available there. So now you see this data. So because there are huge number of records, so these images are like this. And the second type is customer type, 3%, which is in this pink color. So you have customer type yes, and I 96.3. So you have this big blue color box here. Then again customer type. So you have 2 columns here displayed. So customer type yes and customer type this one. Just give me a second. Yeah. Alright, so this is your frequency distribution reports. So you can change either the report into a graph or a report into a table by clicking on setup report, select tabular method and change the name. Click on save. Now if you click on print report, you can see the data in the form of a table. So this is how we can change it. Now click on close and save this one. Okay. Right. So click on close and save this one as a new task. Yes. And this one is the frequency reporting. Frequency. Click on OK. So uncheck this one. Check this one, and this one. Next one is a word frequency distribution. The distribution of a single word across the table. So this is something what we call as too much. So we don't want to do all this word frequency and all. So if you do a summary comparison and frequency distribution on a table, that is more than enough, because that is what we have to do, look at the data. There's no need for us to look at each and every field, the words that are distributed on the table. But sometimes if you are the data owner and if you want to do some analysis, you can do that. Sorry. So these are again different sorts of reports that you can pull out on the data, and you can understand how the data is present. So we are doing it on 2 columns. One is customer account number and customer type. So account number, there are 19,185 records and match is 19,185. So all are unique records, but in word frequency for customer type, there are 2 matches. One is yes and the second one is I. So this is the count of records and this is the percentage. So you can print and you can close. So I'm just saving the report. Okay, so I save this as a word frequency. Why I'm saving is I will show you how to schedule these reports to get automatically executed in 10 days time or every day or in a fortnight or weekly ones. You can schedule them, so I'll show you. That's the reason why we are trying to save this report. Next one is uniqueness, count and percentage of rows with non-unique column values. So it gives you the count and percentage of rows with non-unique column values. So for this, written data option is present. Click on run. Okay, So here, non-unique values. So these are the tables with non-unique values, the territory ID. You have all these unique territory IDs present here. Then the second one is modified date. So you have only one date present here. The next one is the customer type. There are two types of customers that are present. Then for customer ID and account number, there is no duplicate data, so that is the reason why it is saying 0 matches. So close and save it. Uniqueness, and uncheck this one. The next one is redundancy test. Redundancy check to identify commonalities and outliers between the columns. So if you have two columns, primary key and a foreign key, so you can check the commonalities and outliers between these two columns or a table by selecting this. One check is required to continue. Okay, so click on run. Check missing. At least one check is required. So what does he need more? Validation. Just give me a second. Written. Oh, sorry. Okay. Account number, primary key, and this one. So these are the different types of analysis, but it is more than enough if you do a summary comparison frequency on the data. This is just to let you know what are the different things that we have in shop here. I don't know which one, but one report is there. When I try to execute that, it will just try to, hang the system. I guess this one is not that one. Okay, this data inside you especially use when you are getting the data in the form of a flat file. So when you get the data in the form of a flat file, it is not coming from some ERP system. Yeah, this is the culprit. It hides the system. Okay, so now what I'm trying to say is, like, yeah, when you are getting the data from the flat file, the data does not go through all the standard checks. So data can be wrong or data can be improper because it is not coming from any database table or any ERP system. So what you need to do is you need to do an analysis on the data because the project I worked in Dubai, so that project should follow this standards because we get the data only from the data inside, only from the form of the flat files. So we extract the data into our staging tables, and then we start doing profiling activities on that, because that is a must task for us to work on this, because the client always wants to give us the data in the form of a flat file rather than giving access to his database, because he has different price categories or different categories prices that are present in those tables. So he doesn't want to share that, so that is the reason why we get the data in the form of we get the data in the form of a flat file. So now let us open our project, project 7, project morning 7. Click on open. It's currently logged. You want to unlock this project? Yes. Right. So give the password. Okay. So uncheck this one. Uncheck this one. Right. Good. So redundancy is the one which kills the system. Maybe it takes a lot of data and a lot of time. Or you can just try running this on the sample data table, which has like some 10 to 15 records. Okay, this is about first level of reporting that you can perform using the data profiling. Second one is the columns query. The column query, it says that you can write a query on a particular column of a table, and we can do analysis on that. Okay, so here select the customer type, and I want to do a column query on top of this. So right click, add a column query, add combined column query, add to data query. So there are three options here. So we will look at the column query, and when you have two column queries created on the table, you can combine them as combined column query. And on top of that, you can do a truth data query as well. So first let us do the column query. So here you can choose the different types of customers. So now since the customer type is a var character 1, so you see all these query types activated. So let me change it to the integer. The format one is gone. So based on the data type that is present here, this different types of tests are available. So the first one is query type. So you are trying to write a column query, means you are trying to write a query on a column, and these are the different types of queries that you can write. The first one is a format type. So it gives you the format. It gives you the format of the table. So is that an alphanumeric one, or if you have any special characters or unprintable, all alphas or all digits, you can select this particular format of this table. And here you have another box called query for the data that matches or does not match. You can either select the data that does not match, or you can select the data that matches. And the written data, you can include null values or do a group by on any other column. So these are the different options that are present in this box, query for data transfer. And in the functions, you can trim the leading spaces or the trailing spaces based on the things that are available in this drop down. And you can also apply functions we will see on the remaining things. So, and sampling data, you can limit the input again to a percentage or a number of row counts. Okay, so these are the different things that you can do for a format. So now if I select occurrence, these things changed and these things also changed. So for every query type that you select, the screen refreshes and it changes the structure. So occurrence of the customer type greater than 5,000 times you want to capture. So you can just select occurrence greater than 5,000 times. Now you see the trimming. You got both leading spaces and trailing spaces trimming. So it is L trim and R trim blanks on the data. So you can remove the left blanks and right blanks. I can select both here. And casing, you can convert that to an uppercase or a lowercase, because you want to try to do an occurrence on the data. So sometimes the lowercase is not compared to the uppercase, so you can do a comparison on that. You can do all these things. So similarly, there are different tests that you can perform on the data, like the pattern, the special character string, then pattern recognition, the string patterns. You can select, create a pattern input file and upload that here so that this particular pattern is accepted. Next one is a range. So the value should be minimum this much and the maximum value should be this much. You can specify a range on the data. Then referential column. Referential column is something like a lookup validation that we have performed. So validation lookup, it says that the data in this particular column is available in some other tables column, then it is a valid entry. So generally in SAP you have tables called check tables. So if your base table has the data and the same data is present in the check table, and then they say that there is a valid entry, because the base tables are directly available for everybody, and they can write their own queries to create some new sample records. And the check tables are generally not accessed by anyone other than the functional consultants. So it is a belief that the check tables has a standard data. So they compare the base tables with the check tables columns to ensure that that particular data is available in this table. So then it is a valid one. So here I can select the customers. Okay, the customer type. So the customer ID of this customer table is reference column is present in the customer ID of some other customer address table. Yeah. Okay, the address ID or customer ID. So if the customer ID of the customers table is present in the customer ID of the customer address table, then it is a valid entry. You can select that. Next one is the specific value test. So customer type, the specific value test is, I want to test how many eyes are there or if there are any nulls. So you can select a special value as null. I'm selecting none. Then you want to trim leading spaces or trailing spaces or both, you can do that, and you can convert that to casing. And also you can see the available functions. Right of the things or substring functions are available. Then return data option, so it matches, and limit, I'm not setting this one, and click on run to see the report. Okay, these are the data records. So it says that I matches. So we are doing a matching criteria here. So it says that one second. Yes, specific value test we are doing. So this is a specific value test, and for specific value I, we did this, and these are the number of records that are matching, and it gives you these records here. You can print the report, you can set up the report and change that from table to graph. You can do all those things and save the data and click on close. It will ask you to save the report, and you can save this as column query 1. Okay, click on close. So similarly, so now you see the column customer type, it has a column query. Then you can do a column query on territory ID as well. So let us check the pattern or occurrence more than 100. So click on run. Okay, so there is nothing available. Yes, save it as column query 2, and if you just close and see, now you have column query and column query 2. Now you can write add a combined column query, and you can select column query 1 and add, and column query 2 and add, and you can run both of them together. You can just save this as combined query, and when you are trying to schedule the reports, instead of taking 2 column queries, you can take a 1 combined query on top of that. So this is a column query which you can do. No, I don't want to save it. I just let the individual column queries be present here. And this is what you can do using the column queries. So you can write a query on top of a particular column and try to analyze the data that is present in that particular column. Because sometimes in tables we don't need to do analysis on all the columns. We just need only particular column or group of columns that are present in the table, and we need to do analysis on top of that. Next one is referential integrity. Referential integrity, again, it looks like the data profiling tab that we have just gone through. So it has uniqueness, non-unique existing primary keys. So this referential integrity is always cross-checking the reference between the tables. So first one is non-unique existing primary key and foreign key. Second one is foreign key reference, existing foreign key not referred by a primary key. So if your table has a foreign key and if it is not referred by any other primary key, it will give you the list of values. Then next one is existing primary key not referenced by a foreign key. So if your primary key is present which is not referred by any other foreign key, then primary key inference of a potential primary key, auto rules and written data options. Again, auto rules also, it will hang the system. So let us do one by one. This is uniqueness. Okay, so it does not find any match here. If you come close, no need to save. Okay, this is non-unique existing primary keys. If there are any non-unique existing primary keys, you have to capture them. The second one is foreign key reference, the foreign key not referred by any other primary key of other table. So click on run. Okay, so it has a 0 match, all the columns are referred. So this you'll get fun when you do it on the bad data. So primary key inference, existing primary key not referred by any other foreign key. Click on run. Again 0% because we have good data here. Then primary key inference, I'm selecting these things here, click on run. Okay, it got 100% match, primary key inference, so there is no discrepancy in the data. If you get less than 100%, or if it is very bad, then it should be below 40%, then you do not accept the data. So generally these percentages, or if they are more than 60, the bad percentage of data is bad data is more than 40, then generally you will not accept the data. You will send it back to the data owners to do an analysis. So auto rules, let us ignore that. That will hang the system. It will try to check business rules, potential business rules on the data, then written data option. So this is referential integrity. Again, these are some simple tests that you perform on the data to see if your data is good or bad. Then custom query. So this is one thing where you want to write your own custom query. You can write this. So select the database here, right click and go for add custom query. Right, so the custom query window is open. Now on the left hand side you see the databases. Open the tables and you can see the tables. So I have purchase order header and purchase order detail here, and from purchasing segment I take the header table, drag and drop it here. So now once I do a graphical representation, drag and drop, now you see the script is already getting created automatically, and header detail, drag and drop it here. Now I select purchase order number, revision number and status, these three columns from the header table, or let me take employee ID, X amount, and this purchase order. So selected purchase order ID. Select the purchase order detail ID and all those things. What are the things that you want to be displayed in this table? So now join these two tables with the primary key foreign key relationship. So select the purchase ID, drag and drop it and connect it here to this purchase ID. And there's a small change in syntax now, since you are selecting individual columns. Remove that star from there and click on run. Check the syntax, yes, and once the syntax is good, it runs this custom query where it will generate the reports. So now we are getting nothing out of that, but if you have some data, the data will be displayed here, and this is how you can write your custom query. So if you are good at some coding, you can just go here and you can write a coding, or the same thing, if you are bad at coding, you can do a group by or output columns. You can select here. You can do a prioritization, so joinings and what are the fields that you need and all those things. You can select it from here. Okay. So once I click on execute here, it gives me the purchase ID, revision ID, employee ID, tax amount, purchase details ID, unit price and line time. So these are the different things that you have selected from these two tables. So now you see the data. This is the execute button. Once you click on this, you see, and stop execution, you can stop. Go to the query, this is the query, and you go to the result, and this is the result. So you can write your own queries and all these things here. Right, next one, how to schedule. So go to schedule, add batch. So give the batch name as morning, then open this one, column queries or profilers, and select comparison summary. I just want to schedule only these two. I don't want to schedule all. So click on close. So once you click on save, it gives you a schedule. So click on schedule, and now you see a calendar type of screen here. So the recurrence is daily, so you can select the recurrence of this report execution, monthly, weekly, hourly, minutes. Even for every minute you can do that. You can select it days, and occurrence is once in a day, and end date is somewhere around 28th of this month. Alright, the start is around 8 a.m. Okay, And notification, you can send a notification through an email. So if you type in some email here, once this report is scheduled and triggered automatically, this person whose email ID you have provided here will get a notification saying that this particular report is executed. So what we do is, once these reports are executed, we export the report to an inbound or outbound directory, and this notification mail, once the data owner gets this notification mail, you go to that particular inbound or outbound directory and you will check the reports. When we check this export report option, we will specify the path where we want to save these reports. So I'm not checking these things, I'm just keeping that. And once you do these things, occurrence once in a day, and start date and end date and time, all these things, click on add, and you see the schedule available here, schedule added. So click on save, you see the bell symbols available. You just want to remove on Saturdays or Sundays, you, for example, 9th, you don't want it to be executed, you can remove this one and click on save. The bell symbol is gone. Next one is 16th, you don't want it to be executed on Saturdays, remove and save. Similarly on 23rd. So you can add the schedules and remove the schedules this way, and this gets automatically scheduled on every day at 8 a.m. at so and so this time. So click on close and click on close. So now this is how you can create some reports and you can schedule them. And once these reports are scheduled, for example, you are getting the data from the data owners every fortnight, and you just need to schedule these reports. Instead of doing it every fortnight, it is always good that you schedule them once in a fortnight, and once the data is pushed into the source path, so you just create a job to execute and put them in your database tables, or you can directly read from the flag files as well, specifying the path. So once the data is present in this one, automatically these reports get triggered automatically, and the email notifications are sent, the data analysis was done automatically, and there is no need for you to do. So you just need to do it as a one-time job, and you can schedule that so that the data owners can get notifications and they can go through these reports. So this is about what formats are these reports saved in. So yeah, sure, we have seen that. We have saved one in this PDF format. So it always depends on the format that you choose here within your data insight. You want to save them as you want to save them in the form of, so you just go to the print report and you just select the type of and format of which you want to save it, and the same format it is saved for your system. Okay, this is where you set what type it has to be saved, and automatically once it gets executed, it will be saved in this one. Okay, any questions on data insight? So this is a little boring topic as for me. I don't know if it was interesting to you or not. But this is a little boring thing, because doing analysis of the data and something is like you need to sit with a lot of patience and do something on that. But yeah, it is one important thing. So any questions so far? No? Right, tomorrow we'll be looking at the most important and interesting topic of data services, which is management console. Okay, so this gives you a different options, like what are the different tasks that an administrator will perform on the device, on this tool, and you will be really amazed with the features that are present in management console. So some of the features will be covered in the real-time jobs when you are trying to expose the WSDLs and web services, and look at them in the management real-time jobs. But apart from that, all the remaining features, so we'll be looking at them in the management console in tomorrow's class, right? So yeah, Rishabh, I'll do that, don't worry. Okay, so that's right, that's it for the day. So guys, have a good night and have a good day ahead. We'll catch up tomorrow.